a very important initiative. Obviously, there's a great deal of concern in the country about energy efficiency. Much of the discussion has focused on the prospects of conservation. Obviously, we're talking about energy both from the standpoint of additional sources and also efficiency. Much of the discussion about conservation and increased efficiency has focused on transportation, where there clearly is a great deal to be done. But the way in which we live physically also has a great deal to do with energy consumption. And earlier last year, when we were debating the regulation changes in the government-sponsored enterprises, specifically Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, some members came up with the notion of incentivizing them further to incentivize people in turn to do more energy efficiency. Out of those conversations, we also heard from our colleague who's the chair of the Appropriations Subcommittee that covers HUD, Mr. Alvin, my Massachusetts colleague, about his concern about energy efficiency in Hope 6. We then, among ourselves, decided that it really made sense to do this in a comprehensive way. And I'm particularly pleased that some of the freshman members of this committee took the initiative in putting this together, and we will hear from them. Our colleague from Colorado, Mr. Perlmutter, has been a lead in this, and other of the freshmen have joined in. And what we want to do is to go forward with legislation that maximizes our ability to improve energy efficiency. Now, this divides. There are programs which are federally funded. I believe we have the right in those as the landlord, as the entity that will be charged with costs going forward in running those properties, to do some mandating. There are mandates in this bill, but they are mandates that relate to what we, the federal government, as the builder and as the entity that has ongoing financial responsibilities, does. With regard to the private sector, mandates become less clearly justified. Some will argue for them, some against them, but incentivizing clearly makes a great deal of sense. So this is a bill that differentiates to some extent its treatment based on the level of federal involvement, but it is a comprehensive and very thoughtful approach, and I can say that without any ego because I was not involved in the drafting. The task force, Mr. Perlmutter, Mr. Hose, and others were, and they've done an excellent job. It's late in the year. There appears little likelihood that this will become law before the end of the year, but I would hope that we could go forward. We're still going to be around for a couple of months, and that this could pass the House to put us in a position where come next year we would be ready to move fairly quickly on this, because from the standpoint of energy efficiency, a great deal can be accomplished with regard to the way in which people live. And so I regard this as a very important initiative from this committee. I should say that while some areas in the housing field become somewhat partisan, which to me is not a bad thing. I think partisanship is an essential part of democracy when it's practiced well. This is one where I think we have a chance for a great deal of bipartisan cooperation. I think this is a goal, energy efficiency, that's broadly shared. That doesn't mean everybody will agree on all the specifics, but I think this is a very hopeful initiative by this committee to make a contribution to resolving a great national problem. And with that, I will now recognize for 5 minutes the ranking member.